of a shot of winning. We can beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
And welcome back to the New York Jets Atlantic Flight Podcast. And as promised, we have a live draft for you with our resident gurus, Ryan and Timmy. And we've got this thing up and running already. We're just using a regular mock draft site. I think we are using PFN, if I'm right in thinking. And it's just spat out the usual stuff. So we're just going to go with this, and we're just going to see what happens. And remember, this is just for fun, not necessarily what we think will happen. We're just picking what we think is the best available for our situation. So without further ado, I'm going to turn you over to Timmy and Ryan. And I believe Timmy is at the controls this morning, or this afternoon, I should say. And how are you guys doing?
Very good.
Yeah, all good here as well.
So I think what we said we were going to do is we'd hold control over every second pick type of thing. So I think Ryan has control over pick 7. We're probably all going to give our perspective on maybe who he should pick. And then we'll go back and forth. We'll snake back and forth between the two and try and help each other out with the pick each time and see where it gets us.
Sounds good.
Yeah, perfect. So we are officially on the clock on our mock draft here. So we've seen a few guys go that we would probably have been looking at. Mason Graham's gone and Will Campbell has gone, as well as Abdul Carter, as you'd expect. So what's left on the board at the moment, we have Andre Membu, Will Johnson, Shadur Sanders, Ted McMillan, Mark Stewart, Tyler Warren, Calvin Banks as the first sort of run of guys there. I won't dive too much into all the guys that are available. For the way I feel this has fallen, I think that my personal pick would be Membu. We need a right tackle. I think that we're smart if Membu is there to take him as our right tackle, solidify that O-line rather than seeing what kind of falls to us in round 2. I think our Membu is the smart pick here. Although I would be willing and okay with us taking like Ted McMillan or probably not Tyler Warren, to be honest, because I think there's better value to be had. So how do you feel, Timmy? Do you think Membu is the right pick here?
Yeah, I'm very loud about this. Membu is the pick for me. Solidify the line. Bookends himself and Olu. We've a very young line. If we do this, we can start to play Detroit-style football, smash them. Let's find out what Breece Hall is really about. Let's find out what Braylon Allen's all about, and let's see what Isaiah Davis is all about. If you think about it, those 3 guys, you have a good mixture there. Braylon and Isaiah are kind of big, strong backs. You've got Breece. It should work, and this I think takes the pressure off as well with the quarterback coming in. It gives him a bit of room as well. He hasn't been behind a good line before either, really. If you look back at the teams he's been at, Pittsburgh wasn't great last year. The Bears weren't great either. So yeah, so for me, this would be the ideal situation for us at 7, I think.
Yeah, I would go with Membu as well. I think we're all agreed on this one. A slightly different perspective as well. I'd like to take Membu simply because I just want a stable offensive line. I don't want us playing musical chairs with our offensive linemen for the next coming year, 2 years, 3 years. Let's solidify this offensive line. As Bill Parcells says, you build from the trenches, and that's what we were doing. This is a solid pick. I don't think you go too far wrong.
Building through the trenches is an interesting thing to say when you look at what options we have at 42 here. So yeah, do you want to maybe describe it, Ryan?
No, this is your ultimate decision, so I'm happy for you to sort of put your point across, and I'll jump in and caveat that.
Okay, so we've gone with tackle in the first. So for me, I suppose the main conversation here is, do you go wide receiver or D tackle? Personally, for me, I prefer to go for a safety later. Though Xavier Watts is there, and I would be very tempted by that. For me, with this draft class, I probably wouldn't go for a quarterback here. And I don't think, let me just check and see who's available. Yeah, so the top 3 guys are gone. So interestingly and surprisingly, Kenneth Grant has fallen to us here. I think if this happens, I'd probably run the card up, to be honest. If he didn't, I'd be looking at Mason Taylor. and I'd probably be looking maybe at the wide receivers as well. I think Trey Harris or Jaden Higgins would also be in play here at this point.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thinking. I'd be happy to go any of those directions, and if on the night we picked any of those guys, I'd be really happy. I think they all would really complement Garrett Wilson at wide receiver. But I think when a talent like Kenneth Grant drops, you have to take it.
Yeah, I think my opinion is quite similar to yours, although I would push the safety back, same as you. I do like Xavier Watts as well, despite his RAS score kind of being a bit underwhelming. I think he plays better than what that suggests. And I agree with you. Kenneth Grant is a home run pick if he's there at 42 for us, and I think that pairing him up with Quinnen, I think is a great shout, and I think that gives us a good fix for problem positions both sides of the line, and I think it sets us up for a good future. So I've got no issues if you want to pick Kenneth Grant here. I probably wouldn't want to necessarily go wide receiver with the guys that are there. But Trey Harris I'd be fine with, and similarly with Mason Taylor. As much as I like him, I just think that again better value can be found, and Kenneth Grant is the best value of the guys on the board there by a long, long way.
And if Kenneth Grant wasn't gone, there's a couple of other DTs that are Deion Walker, I think, maybe a bit early for him, but he's somebody you'd consider as well. But yeah, I'd be very happy with this pick. What do you think, Gus?
It's really funny because as soon as you started scrolling down, the first thing that I saw was Errante Ursary. And every time I've done a mock draft, if I've gone DT, nearly all of the good OTs on the board, they've all gone. So we've got Ursray left. You've got Cameron Williams left. I can guarantee you if we took Mason Graham first, they would have gone as well. So it's really interesting that they're still there. But I think we've been talking about the draft now for a good few weeks, and we've looked into all these prospects, and it's a difficult one because it's for me, I'm in exactly the same boat. It's either Kenneth Grant, I'm running that card up as well. Great player. He'll fit in, no problem, next to Quinnen. But then you look down and you see there's Trey Harris there. So the board as it's looking now, you've got Kenneth Grant, safety Watts, Benjamin Morrison, cornerback, Notre Dame, Errante Ursary, OT, Cameron Williams, OT, and then you've got Trey Harris and Mason Taylor. I'm not as high on Mason Taylor as I think you guys are. But for me, there's two picks here that stick out, Kenneth Grant or Trey Harris. But you can't argue against the big tuna. I'm going Kenneth Grant.
And I'd argue, right, so this is kind of a bit of a stick your neck out situation. I would argue that Kenneth Grant might be a better fit for us than Mason Graham. Mason Graham is a bit same with Quinnen. I think that Kenneth he's a complete run stuffer. He's a huge unit, big fridge. I think it would really suit us. So I'm going to lock that one in.
So we're on the clock next at 73, so which has improved on what we thought we were. So interestingly, looking at the boards initially, it's mad that Jalen Milroe has fallen this far. I mean, I personally have him as around 4 or 5 talent, so I'm not surprised in the sense that he's at the level he is, but I do expect that he will go high in the second, if not late in the first. So I'm going to avoid that. I don't want to touch quarterback this early. Personally, similar reasons to what you said earlier, Timmy. The class isn't strong enough for me. If we hadn't taken a DT in round 2 there, we would have TJ Sanders and Darius Alexander there, both great options if that's the sort of the direction we go. Alfred Collins there as well. So there's a plethora of great DTs actually falling in round 3, which is incredible. Then we've got my guy, Harold Fanning Jr., tight end out of Bowling Green. Kyle Kennard, edge, South Carolina defense was pretty wild this season. Kevin Winston Jr. out of Penn State, the safety. There's some really good options here. Elik Ayamanor at wide receiver as well is another great option. But look, I gotta say, if I'm picking right this very second, unless one of you guys can convince me otherwise, then I'm probably locking in Harold Fanning Jr. So be interesting to see how you guys view the board.
I was expecting this.
Yeah, that's no surprise.
Won't be predictable.
Yeah, you're predictable.
Yeah, do you know what? If our first 3 picks line up this way, when you think about what our needs are, Tez Johnson is there, who seems to be falling a bit as well. Cam Scatterborough's still there as well, who's an interesting individual. For me, it would be between, I'd either be going Ao Minor or else Fannin. I'm very happy to go at Fannin here. I do think that if we take a second tight end, we need to pick somebody who blocks, if that's the case. But I'm happy to lock him in as well.
Yeah, I would go along with that sentiment as well. Again, we're start record. We're building from the inside out. Obviously, the next player that's going to be helping is going to be the tight end on the end of the line. So whatever right tackle we get, which we have got now, Membu, as a rookie right tackle, ideally you'd want to plug and play a tight end with some experience. But this isn't an ideal situation. But I think if we could get two tight ends in this draft, one predominantly receiving, one predominantly a blocking tight end, I think that would be ideal. So yeah, I'm not hot on Tez Johnson either, by the way.
I'm not massive on him. And to be honest, I'm way higher on Ao Minor. And I think, and to be honest, if Fannin Jr. wasn't there, then it probably would have been Ao Minor for me, because I think that he's a fantastic talent, and he would really give us a great outlet for Justin Fields, I think. But I'm happy to lock in Fannin Jr. I think he's a superb tight end prospect.
And the way it has fallen, I'm just looking here. So Tez Johnson is the highest available player as the board has fallen now, interestingly. So all the other wide receivers, when I look at who's left from a wide receiver perspective, it starts to drop off here. We've Torrey Horton, Ty Felton is left, Dante Thornton, Jalen Lane, Nick Nash. Those are the types of names that are left. So there's been we're really after dropping off, I think, with what value you can get from wide receiver. Ted Johnson's an interesting one for me. I was surprised his 40 was actually so poor. He didn't really have a great combine. When you saw him at the Senior Bowl, he was impossible to lock down, right? So I think that he was open the entire time. So he plays a little bit differently to that. He's a bit small, and I think that for us, maybe he can come in and be a smaller wide receiver. But if he had a bit of pace, I'd be thinking maybe about him here. But looking at the other talent that's here, you have Joshua Farmer, Billy Bowman, who else? There's Jalen Reed here as well, who I liked. So it's a tough one here, right? I'm kind of tied at this point, probably between Joshua Farmer and Jalen Reed. No, we have another pick coming up as well soon. Another couple of picks. Tough one. I think I'm going to double dip at defensive tackle. Take Joshua Farmer. Yeah.
What other tight ends are available?
Yeah. Tight end. What other tight ends are available? Let's check. It's after falling off. Yeah. Jalen Conyers is probably the only guy left here who you would take.
I don't know. Aronde Gadsden the second is.
That's what I'm looking at as well.
But I mean, he's obviously more
too
of a
early?
threat than a blocking threat.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think because we took Fannin, I think you need to take somebody who. Oh, Hawes is still there. Sorry, I didn't spot
be
that.
there. So we've got the receiving tight end.
He'll be there later.
Yeah.
I think Torrey Horton's a really interesting prospect in this draft as well. Like he's quite a big body guy. He's not afraid of confrontation and stuff like that. So personally, I'd have him instead of Tez Johnson. And I really like Billy Bowman. I felt like his combine was really good. He's performed well at Oklahoma as well. He seems to have a bit about him. So I quite like him at safety too. I don't know how harsh the drop off is going to be for safety on the latter round, but yeah, I think this board's fallen quite nicely for us so far. Like we've had options in every round, and certainly some of our guys, for want of a better phrase, like have fallen to us as well. So yeah, I mean, I really like Torrey Horton and Billy Bowman. Joshua Farmer's good, but I just feel that we're probably a bit rich to double dip in the first 4 rounds.
I think Billy Bowman is a really good safety, but I think there is another safety. You probably know what I'm going to say. I'm a huge fan. Malachi Moore, Alabama. He is, for me, he's so versatile on the defense. I think he would fit in really, really nicely into an Aaron Glenn defense, flying all around. He can create mismatches. There's another player that flashed up that I'm really high on as well. Dante Thornton. He can take the top. The only thing with Dante Thornton, he's quite limited in his route running, but he can take the top off a defense, and that's the ultimate thing that I would be looking at as a wide receiver two. If you play him as a wide receiver two, you need someone to take the top off, especially with these defenses now playing one high, strong safety or free safety, beg your pardon. You get someone like a Dante Thornton, you have to play too high, which then starts freeing up the middle of the field for your tight end. And as we've seen with Garrett, he can absolutely exploit those holes in the middle of the field. So that's what I'd be looking for. Billy Bowman, he's a great player. I would like to see him. Xavier Restrepo has been getting a lot of love just recently as well, with Cam Ward, obviously. But how much of that is Cam Ward and how much of that is Xavier Restrepo? Big question.
I was about to jump in and say I spotted Restrepo was there. I don't know if you've seen what happened with him at his pro day. He ran a terrible 40. I think it was a 4.85 or something.
Yeah, something like that. I'm pretty sure it was a second faster than the nearly 500-pound.
Yeah.
Desmond, forgot his surname out of Florida. I shouldn't forget his surname, should I? Christ, one of my guys. But yeah, Desmond, Big Des out of Florida, only ran a second slower than that.
So look, I suppose when I kind of take stock of everything here, if this happens in the real draft and we've these kind of options at pick 110, we're going to be in great shape. So I know, and people are talking about it being a poor draft, but I think that we're going to have options as we go through this.
Round
is
four
a difficult decision.
Round four is as it stands right now. There's a lot of value here in round four, and I think we're spoilt for choice again. Going into this draft, we are so able to shift our focus because we have picked up these, albeit they're 1-year deals with these free agents, but we're not particularly tight. Yes, we are really in need of a DT. Yes, we are really in need of a right tackle. Yes, we really need a wide receiver, but there's no actual formula. We have to go that first, that one second, that one third. We can fly around and we can exploit the board as it stands right now. So this is going to be a difficult pick because I think we're probably all going to want to go for somebody different here.
I was just thinking that. I think we're all probably pinning our flag to the mast on a different guy here, aren't we? So, but Timmy's got the ultimate decision on this round.
Timmy's got
I don't envy him on it.
As you can see here, I'm flicking up and down the page because it is a doozy. I think I'm going to go with Joshua Farmer just because I think that we're so light at defensive tackle, and I just think that he is a bull. I think that he's somebody who can rotate in and out. If we get an injury to Quinnen, for example, I think he's somebody who can step in and make an impact. Yeah, so I think that we were so bad at on the defensive line last year, built through the trenches. Yeah, I think I'm going to take Joshua Farmer here. And I think we can get safety later. I'm actually more kind of trying to decide between him and Xavier Restrepo, to be honest, but I think I'm just going to take Farmer.
I think there's a chance that Malachi Moore's still there in the next round. I think that's where I'm at with at least Moore, because I think that he can be got a bit later than this. But we'll soon find out. Tez Johnson fell hard there. He fell well into the 120s. Okay, so the board is gone. I mean, this is where it's slightly disappointing that. So as much as I'm happy with the Joshua Farmer pick, interesting Jamari Caldwell being there now. Had we not double dipped at DT already, I probably would have taken Caldwell as just an initial feeling. Trey Weedig's there. I don't really want to double dip at DT and OT because we also probably need to double dip at tight end, and spending six of our picks on 3 positions seems a bit.
But Jackson Hawes will be down there later on. He should be there with the next pick.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm probably going to have a look at what wide receivers we've got available to us because that's still a need. I mean, Isaac Tesla doesn't inspire much for me, to be honest. Jalen Lane, he's an okay prospect. Nick Nash and Ricky White are both quite good prospects for the value we're looking at here. Tyron Lacey's there, and now he's an interesting one because he looks like such a fantastic talent at LSU, but then he's got this issue with some sort of legal issues going on at the moment. I believe from drink driving or something to that effect. There's something involved there, which does concern me. Whether there's bigger player attitude concerns there or character concerns.
Future Kansas City Chief there.
Yeah, all Las Vegas Raider, right? So So yeah, I'm not overly excited by the wide receiver situation here, so I'm probably going to hang back on that. So if we can have a little look at cornerback and see what we've got in the way of cornerbacks and then maybe safeties.
Yeah, Malachi Moore came off 2 picks ago.
Oh, joking.
So
Oh, he has. He's got
yeah,
the
went to
Raiders.
the Raiders. So I mean, this is where it is tough because I don't feel excited by the cornerbacks here. I don't feel excited by the wide receivers. Let's have a look at safety and see how we're doing there. And this is where it's going to really test us is this late stage.
How can you
And I
not be
mean,
up?
Sebastian,
How can you not be excited by Upton Stout?
yeah, I mean, I love a Guinness as much as the next guy, but I don't. Well, that's about the only stout I'm familiar with.
The
Sebastian
inter-
Castro is an
yeah.
okay proposition here. I don't hate it, but again, let's look at edge. This is probably gonna be the toughest pick. Yeah, all my other ones have kind of fallen to me. Jack Sawyer actually is a very exciting thought at edge, but that doesn't feel like the smart pick. What QBs have we got here? Riley Leonard, Carl McCord, Curtis Rourke. I do feel like we can probably grab someone like Brady Cook in round 7, if undrafted. But I think you know what? Let's lock in Carl McCord. Oh, sorry, I'm saying lock in. You guys got a rebuttal.
Sorry, I've locked it in now. I actually did it straight away. Yeah, that was a tough selection for me as well. I think the lesson here, right, is that if you are going to double dip on DT, that you need to wait until the 5th round to do it.
I think
Because there
so.
was guys that are there. So, like, if I'd taken, say, Jalen Reed, we would have been able to cover an extra position, I think, at starter. So I think that's the
Yeah.
lesson for us for the next time we do this.
Yeah, I think that if you don't double dip within the first 4 rounds, then you can get basically starters at different positions straight off the bat, and then you can look at your depth pieces for the last 4 picks, I think. But I mean, again, the board has thrown up a bit of an interesting one again. But again, there's Peebles there at DT even at round 6 now. Are we round 6 or are we still round 5?
5.
No, we're still round 5. So it's interesting to see. I mean, we know the DT class is quite deep, and don't get me wrong, Peebles isn't necessarily going to be a starter, but he will give you that cover. So it is interesting to see how many DTs are landing that would be serviceable to us, for want of a better phrase.
Totally. So looking at the board here now that's here, right? Tesla, at this point, I would be having a look at Nick Nash, Jack Kaiser.
I think you really should be looking, my opinion, wide receiver and safety.
Yeah.
We are so light at
Yeah.
wide receiver and safety, not so much. We've just signed, I can't remember his name now.
Andre Cisco.
Yeah, Cisco. We've just signed Cisco. So, and I would think that, God, my memory's going. We'll re-sign. Oh God, what was he called? Number 22.
Hopefully we bring back Jalen Mills.
Jalen Mills, but I thought Jalen Mills has already signed back, has he not?
Oh, I don't think so. I'm pretty sure he's still a free agent.
But
I'll have a look.
I do think we need new blood
Timmy
in,
does
but personally speaking, we're desperate for wide receiver, and we need someone that can stretch the field. I don't think linebacker is as big a need as has been reported.
So yeah,
No, I agree.
So I suppose if we look at the offense, let's see the wide receivers that are there. You're talking about Tesla. You're talking about Nick Nash. What do you think if you're choosing between the two?
To be honest, for me in this situation, I would be looking at Nick Nash or Sebastian Castro, the safety. They'd be the two for me. Ricky White probably falls just about into that conversation as well, because I think he had a great year at Las Vegas, and I think he's a great talent. I just think he probably is still going to be there the next round. Well, I say next round, the next pick at 186. There's a good chance Ricky White's still there. He's actually graded as the number 186 player. So It's a similar situation, isn't it? Pick your poison again, as we were speaking about on the last one.
So look at Nick Nash here, right? He is 6'2", 203 pounds. His 40 came in at, where's his 40? 4.57. Okay. QB rating when target is 107.1. Tesla, who I quite like, is 6'4", 214 pounds. QB rating when target is 112. I'm kind of edging towards Tesla. Let's have another quick look at the safety list.
You're backing into Tesla. Also, keep an eye on the fact that we're going to want that blocking tight end as well.
Yeah, true. Do you know who I'm going to take? I'm going to throw the cat amongst the pigeons here, and I'm going to take Jalen Conyers and surprise everybody.
God.
Yeah. So he can block. He's more versatile, I think, than Hawes is. It'll be between the two if I was going to take a tight end. I think I'm going to take the guy who I like. I'm just going to take Jalen Conyers.
Oh, I think you're going too early on Conyers, and he wouldn't be my choice, for the record.
I'm with Gus on that, but I've not watched the tape on Conyers like you have, Timmy. But I would certainly be looking at Hawes myself. But yeah, happy for you to.
I don't think he'll be here in the 5th round when it comes to draft night. I think that interesting. They did a bit of a bio on him on another pod recently on the Oklahoma drill, and they were very high on him as well. They were kind of saying the same thing. So yeah.
I'll bow to your superior knowledge, because this is getting to the back end of the draft where my knowledge is starting to peter out.
I feel like now we're in a position, and Ricky White went just before us to the Steelers, so that's quite annoying. So we're going to need to go safety or wide receiver here, otherwise we're 100%. Not going to get anybody in. So wide receiver wise, Kobe Hudson, Antoine Wells, Kyron Lacy, Ja'Cory Brooks. Really like Ja'Cory Brooks. Jimmy Horn Jr., an interesting one. Elijah Badger, another one that I quite like, obviously being a Florida fan. So there's still a few guys that can do a job there. Let's see what's at safety, and then I'll dissect a little bit more on what's going on with my head for this pick. Catan Crawford is still there. He was there on the last one. Craig Woodson, Shiloh Sanders, I wouldn't want to touch with a barge pole. Glenn Miller, he used to, a few good hits. Major Burns, that's an interesting name. I'm not seeing. My big concern is looking through this. Is that the only safety I look at and see there that I would be considering taking is Maxon Hook, and even he is not an exciting prospect by the standards that we've been talking about with the likes of Makuba, Malachi Moore, Xavier Watson, all that lot. He's way down the line on that. So if we jump back into the wide receiver, I'm going to talk a bit more through those guys because I know a bit more on them, and I am going to pick wide receiver at this pick. So
Upton Stout's still there.
Upton Stout, yeah. So Kobe Hudson, University of Central Florida, interesting season they had. They had a few good wins. They had a great game, which I think they ultimately lost against the Colorado Buffaloes, where their QB was like just enormous. He's built like a tight end, or even probably not far off a small lineman. And his favorite target did seem to be Hudson. I haven't watched a lot of tape on Hudson, but I remember seeing that game and seeing that he was a big out for him on that. But he's not my guy. Ja'Cory Brooks, I really like. I think he's a fantastic talent, and I'm surprised that he is sitting so far down the boards. But I'm going to go a bit out of left field here, and this isn't somebody I've drafted in any of my mocks, and I'm going to pick up Kyron Lacy and hope that we don't have big issues with that issue with the police and whatever's going on there, which I believe is a DUI that seems to have escalated a bit. But it gives us a wide receiver that has fantastic talent and is probably only that far down purely because of the impending police issues with him.
Okay, so that takes us to pick 207. So there's a few guys here who I think probably won't be here when it comes to draft night. Ty Hamilton from Ohio State, the defensive tackle, is there. I don't know if he'll be past the 5th round. Luke Leitch might be there because of the injury that he had. It's getting thin though. Jackson Hawes is there, but I think he'll be gone as well.
Yeah, he'd have gone by now.
Yeah, I think he'll go round 5 or 6. I don't think he goes much higher than that.
So for me, it's between two guys here. So Caleb Bransaw is there. I don't know if you've watched him, the cornerback from Tulane, who I really like. It'd be between him and Brady Cook. So then it just comes down to team building. Let's see if there's anybody else.
I don't think Brady Cook, you mentioned right at the beginning of this, saying that Brady Cook, there's a chance he'd just go undrafted. I've heard enough fan bases and pundits saying that someone is going to take him later on in the draft because he is worth a look at.
There's a few of the guys that are on the edge of round 6, 7 and UDFA. The likes of Graham Mertz, his injury certainly would be a concern for a lot of people. But if you could pick him up as a UDFA, his completion percentages were really good. He showed great leadership, both at Wisconsin and Florida. So there's an option. I think there's going to be an option for someone to fall to us as a UDFA if we don't draft someone. Obviously, we've picked up Kyle McCord in the run so far. But if I'm honest, if we forgo the QB situation till round 7 or even UDFA, I'm not going to be disappointed because I feel like they're close enough bunched once they go past a certain point here.
Yeah.
Certainly in talent standard.
Sorry, there's a safety missing there. We just had a look at the Timmy's just put up who we've got. So we've got Membu, offensive tackle, Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle, Harold Fallon Jr., tight end, Joshua Farmer, DT, Kyle McCord, QB, Jalen Conyers, double tipping at TE, Kyron Lacey, wide receiver. So we are still short of a safety. Whether or not we do even take a safety, do we triple dip at DT? Do we triple dip at tight end?
So looking at the way this is laid out, like if you look back at this, I probably would have taken Jalen Reed at 110 if I had the pick back now, just looking at how it's fallen. You can't go backwards. But it's an interesting formula to see OT, DT, tight end and safety would be if I look back at the first 4, and that would have opened up the rest of the draft in a different way for us.
Seeing Tyrion Ingram Dawkins still sat there in round 7 is crazy value for a guy that I think is potentially very coachable and can do a pretty decent job.
So I would have also advocated at this stage of the draft was taking interior lineman, but now we've just signed Josh Myers, centre/guard from Green Bay. That need kind of disappears a little bit because you've got 2 players. I don't want to advocate. We've talked about this, moving players around, but Tippmann can play inside and outside, and so can Myers. So you've got 2 really interchangeable players there. So interior line, all of a sudden, it doesn't become a pressing need.
Willie Lampkin is there, who I think is a bit too short for the position, but has a loaded dog in him. Other than that, there's not really anybody who kind of is teasing me to pick them. So I'm probably.
Oh my God, Drew Kendall's there.
I haven't watched him yet.
He's a son of Pete Kendall, offensive guard. He's Boston College. Yeah, good player. I didn't realise he was still there. And anyone that's called Gus, he has to be a pick as well. Gus Hartwig is there.
So I'm going to not go specifically for an immediate need, and I'm going to take Caleb Bransaw just because I've watched him. I really liked him. He's somebody who I would like to take later. He's the cornerback from Tulane. Really sticky. I thought he looked really good at the Senior Bowl as well. Enough that I went and had a look at him. So I'm going to draft him as our pick 207. Unless you have anybody else who you want to kind of throw at me.
Can we have a little look at the safeties just before you move on with that? Sure. Just want to see who might be there that late. And so, I mean, Hunter Waller, Dante Trader, Craig Woodson, Glenn Miller still there, and Philo Sanders, unsurprisingly, still there. So, I mean, this really does just show that those first 4 picks in any kind of fashion need to be OT, DT, probably tight end and safety, for us to bring in starters. And then the last 4 ones, we're kind of thinking about the future maybe, or we're thinking about depth. So, I mean, to be honest, I'd be open to if like we had a situation where we went OT, DT, safety in the first 4 rounds, and then either a tight end or a wide receiver in there as well. Because I think that's where we're going to find those starters in the first 4 rounds. I think outside of that, the same in any draft, isn't it? Once you get into the back rounds, it's potluck if you're going to find a starter, isn't it? And that's where the challenge really comes in.
You're
I think
hoping
that at this stage, you can kind of take anyone and fill a spot, can't you? As long as it's a position of need at this stage.
I mean, any draft you're looking at hopefully getting a minimum of 2 starters and hopefully 2 backups in any draft. So if you've got 7 picks, ideally you want 2 starters and 2 backups, and the rest is just gravy if you can get anything else from that.
Well, look at who we have. So we have Mimbo, who's a starter, Kenneth Grant is a starter, Harold Fannin is a starter, Farmer I think is going to rotate in and out with the main 2 we have. McCord is longer term. Conyers will fight for the starting position potentially, I think. Then Kyron Lacey, who's kind of probably a bit more of a developmental guy. And
I think Lacey's probably good enough to start if he arrives without the potential issues that are going to follow him. And I think that of those prospects that are looking at those day 3 talents of wide receiver, he's definitely the best. Because prior to the police issues, I'm sure he was being projected round 2. He looked good value for it as well.
Okay, so that's good. I'm going to lock in the cornerback that I was saying, Ransaw, just because I think he's the player who I think culturally would suit us as well. He can play on the outside. His name is escaping me, the wide receiver that we paid all the money to. Stevens, is it?
That's the
The quarterback, Brandon Stevens.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting point. I was thinking about him earlier when you were sort of and I was thinking it could dictate, if we're at this stage and we need a quarterback or a safety, it could dictate how we approach that pick, depending where they plan to play him. So we're talking that we don't have a safety there, but if they decide to move him to safety, suddenly the hole is in the cornerback room rather than the safety room, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tony Adams was the player I was trying to think of. Tony Adams is most likely going to be back. I would be very surprised if he isn't. So you've all of a sudden you have got bodies in that safeties room.
Did we sign exclusive rights on Tony Adams, or because we did it with Irvin Charles or someone else, and we've just signed the contract with Irvin Charles, haven't we?
I don't believe so.
Tony Adams.
I think he's just a UFA.
Oh, okay.
And he's not been re-signed.
Not yet. Everyone will wait until after the draft, won't they? That's what usually happens. Or going into the draft a week before.
I'd still advocate bringing Jalen Mills back. I think he fitted the mentality that we want to be pushing. So
yeah, absolutely.
He's been putting a lot of stuff on Twitter that he's not happy about not being re-signed as well. So sit tight, young Jedi, because hopefully your phone will be ringing. If it's not us, it'll be somebody else. But yeah, I agree. Bring Mills back. He showed a lot of promise last year, and let's face it was a pretty horrible year for a lot of players. A lot of players gave up, and
he was one of the few that didn't quit.
He had a point to prove, and he proved it, I think.
And it could be an indicator to us as well, like we said, that they are going to go safety in the first 4 picks, that they haven't re-signed Adams or Mills, who both can do a job there as well. And I think one of them will end up coming back. I'm surprised that they haven't re-signed Adams. I had assumed that they had, but I hadn't realised that they hadn't.
I think he should be cheap. I would think 5 mil a year is probably going to be about the high end for him, isn't it?
This time of the year, nobody else is looking at him, so maybe even less at this point.
It's funny.
Probably looking at less than 3 in guarantees, aren't you?
Yeah.
The Stevens pickup is really odd because if you look at all the other pickups, the money is just base money in most instances, and then all of a sudden you've thrown 10 mil on a 1-year deal. You either like him or you don't. I reckon you could have got him on a 2 or 3 year deal for 10 mil.
Oh yeah, that's Cisco, the 10-year deal, isn't it? The 10 mil deal.
10 mil deal, yeah. It's just kind of odd. That's
and the
odd to me.
Stevens one is 3 years, 36 mil, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's a couple of most of the contracts that they've given out. They're all tire kickers, with a high upside, and they don't work out. They're cut even before training camp. So or there'll be training camp bodies, which is what you want anyway. But it's going to be interesting to see how this. I'm so excited by this draft. It's really weird because it's not a good draft, is it? Let's face facts. There's a few blue chippers, and the rest are depth.
I think that you just have to have, I think it's really kind of shown up in how we've done this. I think you have to have the right formula of how you're doing your picks. I think the defense, like you're going to get, if you wait for your double dip for tight end and for DT for round 5, late round 4, you're going to get it. So it's just getting the first 4 picks right so that you can leave the board fall the way that it's going to suit you.
But it goes back to what I was saying. If we hadn't have drafted Membo right at the beginning, there would have been 0 tackles later on.
Yep.
Do you know what I mean? It's like if we'd gone Mason Graham, there would have been tons of defensive tackles. Well, there wasn't there? But you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. To coin a phrase from Daniel.
So I'm just going to lock in Ransaw, and then we can see our final selection list, which is Mimbu, Kinnick Grant, Fannin at 73, Joshua Farmer at 110, which, whilst I don't think it's the right way to go anymore, I still think he's value there. Kyle McCord at 145. We didn't really talk much about this pick. I think of the guys that are there developmentally, he's somebody who I think is really interesting. I think that his passing is really, really strong. He's very different to Fields. Might be the only thing I think that might make this questionable. Maybe we go for somebody that is a bit more athletic, but I think he's an interesting prospect.
Can I just add something on this quarterback thing at the minute? I wouldn't actually draft a quarterback at all in this draft. I would, if someone came up undrafted free agents, I'd pick them up as an undrafted free agent. The reason why I'm saying this now is whichever paper you want to pick up and you want to believe, it's now being said that Travis Jordan is going to be ready to compete at training camp. So now you've got Travis Jordan, you've got Tyrod Taylor, Jordan Travis. That's Daniel. Daniel's doing that to me. God damn him. And he keeps doing it, keeps getting his name wrong. Now I've picked it up. So, and then you've got Justin Fields. And let's be honest, without trying to not wear green goggles here, although it's slow, Fields' progress has been steady and it's trending the right way. So all of a sudden, and Martinez, he's on the practice squad as well. Let's not forget that. Although Martinez, what is he, a camp arm, really? Although that said, I thought he looked good in pre-season, so I'm not going to discount him. But all of a sudden, if you add now Kyle McCord into that mix as well, he is going to be on your practice squad. And I'm not sure whether he would stay on the practice squad. Someone could pick him up on that practice squad. That's why I wouldn't draft a quarterback in this round, because I think our quarterback room, if Jordan Travis is coming back, all of a sudden you've got a crowded quarterback room.
Yeah, I think you're right there, and I think that Timmy's point of him not fitting the similar mold to Justin Fields is probably right. He's probably not the type of guy we look at. Whereas I think that, like you say, there's going to be some UDFAs or round 6-7 guys that are going to fit that mold a bit better. So yeah, I think there's certainly been some lessons learned from this exercise. Like we've seen that some of these guys we maybe need to be looking at, or some of these positions we maybe need to be looking at earlier, and some of these positions can probably be pushed aside to some extent. Like you say, with the QB, it's not a desperate need for us this year, to be fair. Now we've brought in Field, we're going to find out what we've got in him, and next year it will probably be more of an issue, or well, I'd say probably it will either be a bigger issue or it'll be a non-issue next year, won't it? So
hopefully non-issue.
Yeah.
Interestingly, maybe Kyle McCord is more of a comp for Goff. So
yeah, I mean, I don't dislike the comp, and it's interesting that we keep talking about these similarities to Detroit and how we're going to operate in a similar way. Yet Justin Fields kind of flies in the face of that a bit, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. And just to kind of round it off, after McCord, then we have Jalen Conyers, who was blocking and pass catching tight end. We've Kyron Lacey, who would be potentially fighting for our wide receiver 2 position.
So just whilst we're on Kyron Lacey, so because I imagine from our conversations you guys haven't really watched him probably as much as I have.
No.
So his position rank is quite low. They DraftBuzz has him at like 36 of the wide receivers, but his 40 time was 4.52, and in terms of his season last year, he had 58 receptions, 866 yards, averaging 14.9 a reception, 9 TDs. The previous year, 30 receptions, 558 yards, averaging 18.6 and 7 TDs on that one. So, interestingly, he was initially University of Louisiana Lafayette, and then he transferred to LSU. So he's been around in college 5 years by the looks of it. So I think he's going to be someone that can do a very good job if he doesn't cause bigger issues off the field.
Okay. Interesting. Do you know what? At this point in the draft, to pick 186, if you have the talent, you take the risk. That's what I would think with a guy like this. It's probably worth it for what the pick is worth. And rounded off then with Caleb Ransaw, who's 5'11", ran a very quick 40, 99 percentile of 4.33. So he's a cornerback, but he has flexed into safety and played some safety as well with Tulane. So he, again, maybe Jules out for the 2 different positions with Stevens. So an interesting kind of pick to put in there from that perspective. And I think he would be good value at this point as well from that perspective too. Really good tackler, which I think is something as well that we're going to be trying to bring into our secondary, because as we know, our tackling has been horrendous in the last few years. So that's something that stands out.
2 traits that Glenn likes as well. He likes his DBs to be fast, and he likes them to be able to tackle. So yeah, he fits that MO of what Glenn's looking for. So I don't know too much about Caleb Ransaw, but I do know a lot about Upton Stout.
Have a look at Ransaw. He's a dog.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will do. I'll check him out.
Yeah.
I need to rescind my Kyron Lacey pick. I've just seen what the charges were for. So
allegedly.
Alleged charges for negligent homicide, hit and run, which killed an ex-Marine. So I'm going to say that maybe I don't pick him. So that's that one's gone sour.
Okay.
Yeah, you might have to be sending his mail to maximum security or something.
Who was the other wide receiver you were looking at that point?
Ja'Cory Brooks. I would probably take him instead at that value.
So let's say we took Ja'Cory Brooks. So do you want to maybe talk about him? So
yeah, I'm quite happy to talk about Ja'Cory Brooks. Interestingly, Louisville wide receiver. So he's had a good year there this year, and I think that he's been working with Tyler Shuck. That was down there, who's been flying up the board at the minute. So he ran a 4.65, which isn't rapid, but it's strong enough. He operates more as an outside receiver. So you wouldn't have seen him at the Senior Bowl. He was a Shrine Bowl guy, and he did have some nice catches and competed well for the ball. His QB rating when targeted is 119.8, Ja'Cory Brooks. His big comp is coming from, I don't really like the comp so much, Khalil Shakir. He's okay. I'm not as high on him as what I think the Bills are, considering how much they paid him. So, but he's averaging 17 yards a catch. I'm just going to bring up his
QB rating when targeted is 119.8 as well, which is
nice. 119.8 is strong. He's 23 and a half roughly. So last season he had 61 receptions, just over 1,000 yards, 1,013, 9 TDs, 16.6 average yards per reception. So in round 6, if you can get a guy that can give you some form of output, he was initially Alabama. In his second year at Alabama, he did 674 yards, 8 TDs. Seemed to drop off the following year. I'm not entirely sure if that was because of injury or that he just went down the pecking order, but he only had 3 receptions for 30 yards. And then he transferred to Louisville. So yeah, not sure entirely on that, but I think he would be a solid pick there, and he doesn't have a rap sheet to come with him. So.
Okay. So I'm going to give us a last run through again. So Armin Mimbu at 7, Kenneth Grant at 42, Harold Fannin Jr. at 73, Joshua Farmer at 110, Kyle McCord at 145, Jalen Conyers at 162, Ja'Cory Brooks at 186, and Caleb Ransaw, cornerback safety flex, at 207. Over to our host.
Well, that was our first ever live draft. We had some technical issues trying to do this yesterday, so glad we didn't have any technical issues today. So we've sorted this out. This has been a lot of fun. I don't think this is going to be our only live draft. I'm pretty sure we're going to be doing a few more between now and draft night. Gentlemen, we are in April, the month of the draft. How exciting is this? How exciting is this? We're going to be doing this draft night, aren't we?
I'm very excited for draft night, and I'll be in Gran Canaria. So
don't rub it in. I was in Greece last year for this anyway, so I can't talk. But yeah, gentlemen, this has been an absolute blast doing this. We're going to be doing one again. Who knows? Ryan might be at the controls on the next one, taking the picks, making the GM moves. I have to say, as a Jets fan, I think I'd probably fire you, Timmy.
Well, we went every second pick.
So yeah,
he's just saying he loves my picks and not yours, Timmy. That's all.
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
Timmy, Ryan made you pick Kieran Lacey, so
that was his pick, though.
That was his pick.
Yeah,
that was his pick. This is true. So we'll do this again. What are we doing this again next week, or are we going to do this in a couple of weeks' time?
We'll definitely do another mock draft at some stage. We'll definitely do some kind of. I don't think we've really decided what we're going to do next week.
TBD.
We'll be back.
TBD. Gentlemen, let's wrap this up. Thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun. I hope you guys listening to this have been thrilled with our picks, and check out some of these names if you haven't heard them before. The likes of Caleb Ransor or Kieran Lacey, Carl McCord, Jalen Conyers, Joshua Farmer. I think pretty much everyone knows.
Y'all know what to say. On three. 1, 2, 3.